Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Come along on a trip from Mactan Island, Lapu Lapu, across the old bridge, the two-lane bridge, going over to Mandaue City, and then we'll go down to the south to Cebu City, kind of like the Twin Cities. Actually, kind of like the Tri-Cities, what they call. Cebu City, Mandaue City, and Lapu Lapu City. Big metropolitan area, and then there's Cebu metropolitan area, which includes several other cities as well, stretches out. And I've walked across this bridge a number of times and put some video up recently, in fact, of that. This is a habal ride, a motorbike taxi ride over here, and cost they asked for 100 pesos each, $2. And I think the last time we did it, it was 120. So not a bad price at all. A taxi is usually 220 to 250 for this same trip. 200 pesos being about $4 US. Many of you know that I do lots of videos. In fact, I have over 800 videos up. Many of those videos pertain to cost of living, and also I do reviews of condominiums, housing developments, a number of different places. Got plans to go to more housing development subdivisions to do some more videos of that type of thing. I've traveled to different islands, done some videos. So be sure to check out some of my playlists, my other videos. And if you'd be so kind to hit the like button, that sure helps the channel, helps promote the channel through the algorithms that YouTube and Google use. I also have a PayPal account. I'll put it in the comments section, as well as a Patreon account for anyone who would like to help support the channel. Our expenses, of course, always with equipment and transportation. Presently, the situation in the Cebu City area is that there are checkpoints, but they're generally manned mostly at night. Well, there are people at many of the checkpoints during the daytime, but very little actual checking going on. They do more checking in the evening, mostly motorbikes. I think they're looking for people without licenses, without proper registration, ownership documents, those types of things. Because you'll find, I believe there's a certain percent of the population, don't know what it is, that doesn't have licenses or registration for their equipment. I had been over in Lapu Lapu, Mactan Island, over at the driver's license office, the city hall there, about a month ago. And I was told that the main person in charge had to approve that situation, transferring my U.S. license to a Philippine license. And the person had been called away to a meeting, so I happened to be over there for another reason and stopped back in there, and they said that they actually took me in, interviewed me. And he suggested, because I only had about 1 month left on my visa, even though I've been here over a year, he wanted some proof that I was going to be here for another 6 months at least, or even up to a year. It's difficult, impossible on a tourist visa to get a year extension. Some places will give you a 6-month extension, some won't, is my understanding presently. And so he gave me the name of somebody in the Mandaue office, and said, maybe go talk to this person, maybe you can get the proper extension. And anyway, I was over at J Center Mall the other day to watch the Super Bowl at World Travelers Resto Bar there. And it was a Monday morning, and decided to check in again with the driver's license, what's called LTO, Land Transportation Office, what is called in the USA DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm not sure about other countries what they call it, but stopped in there, and after some discussions and filling out paperwork, was finally actually approved for to transfer my license. Went down, did the medical, did all the things that I have to do, and after, I don't know, three, 4 hours, something like that, going through all those steps, I actually have now acquired a Philippine driver's license. Now, what I've been told is that a couple of years ago they got a little tighter on their restrictions, and the various LTO offices they interpret those a little bit different. Some are more lenient, some aren't. Each just like the immigration offices, they each have some leniency in how they handle visas. Some give a 6-month visa extension, for instance. Some don't, for whatever reason. Now, since I brought up immigration, let me mention one other thing. I have heard a couple of times now that I'm talking about the 3-year limit on a tourist visa. I know several of you are in that situation coming up very soon, or you've way past it. And you're supposed to leave the country after 36 months, 3 years. That's part of the deal. Now, Thailand had similar type rules, but they kept extending those during the lockdowns and the difficulty in traveling. I think and wish the Philippines would do the same thing, get a little creative. And it's not doing Philippines any good to make you leave the country, not be able to come back, and then you're not spending money here. And they desperately need people spending money here in this economy. But I've been told that you might be able to pay some kind of fine. I've heard the number $500, 25,000 pesos, plus pay for your extension. Some immigration offices are allowing that. I have heard. Now, I haven't seen anything in writing about that, but just like you go into a civil or a criminal judge or court case, you've been given a citation. That judge has some leniency in whether he's going to let you off, whether he's going to fine you, whether he's going to fine you and throw you in jail, etc., etc. So the point I'm getting at is that I cannot give you specifics. I don't know the specifics, but I've heard it twice that there may be a way to pay a fine and be able to stay in the country past those 3 years. Now, I've got till about October myself. Hopefully the travel situation will be much better at that point in time. I can leave and come back without any major issues. Now, this is actually a Friday night. Under normal circumstances, there would be much, much more traffic, many more people out on the street than there is on a Friday night. And I say normal because if you're watching this video in 2022, 2025, 2050, whenever you're watching this video, it is 2021, and for most of the last year, much of the world is in an economic lockdown. Very little economic activity going on. Millions of jobs lost over a virus out there, and things have loosened up a little bit. Some countries not. Some countries are locked down much more stringent. The most parts of the Philippines are under a modified, an MGCQ, modified, I forgot what the G stands for. Somebody will be able to tell me. Community quarantine is what it stands for. Now, I have to get a quarantine pass. I get it from the security guard at my condominium. We've got 2 or 3 per day that we can use, and oftentimes there's one available for me to use for a number of hours, and sometimes there's not. So some barangay is a village here, and the barangays issued these. We were originally told that every household would get some, but in the end they were They were given out very scarcely. And I've been told that the place I used to live, Bamboo Bay over in Mandaue, that every resident did get one over there, but each city, each barangay handles that all a little bit differently in an effort to keep people from going out. If they're not going out, they're not spending nearly as much money. So there is some negative effects to that as well. There is a little bit of good news, though, depending upon the island that you're in. Uh, Notice here the solid white line, that's supposed to be a bike lane. I'll get more into that here in a little bit, but on many of the islands, you're able to move about a little bit more freely. Some areas require a quarantine pass, and some don't. Cebu City does, but anyway, it's we're able to move about a bit and visit and take care of our essential requirements, grocery shopping, those types of things, medical appointments, dental appointments. For many months, there were no dentists open. I tried to get a dentist appointment, not open. Waiting for the government to tell them how to proceed with that situation. I've got a guy coming up beside me on a motorcycle and wanted to be asked me, can I be part of your video? Here it is.
Doing the video?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello. YouTube Amazing Philippines.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Getting back to travel, though, it is still very difficult, if not impossible, to travel between the many islands. Very few ferries are running. Some resorts have opened up and you can fly into resorts. Different resorts have different requirements. Different provinces where the resorts are have different requirements. Do you need a PCR test? Do you need a letter of acceptance? Do you need to do a quarantine if you travel someplace? Very confusing, which is even I've read news reports and the authorities are saying, yeah, it's just very confusing. It's very difficult with all the restrictions. It becomes costly. I think generally 3,000 to over 5,000 for a PCR test to see if you get a positive test, which doesn't even mean that you are a sick individual who can transmit the disease. So that's a discussion there's lots of videos online about that. There is some good news there. I think I've mentioned it in different videos. There is a medicine that's been used for decades. It's safe. It's used for humans as well as animals. South America, Africa use it. Ivermectin a lot for parasites, and they use it for the dog heartworm. My sister, who has a Arabian horse farm, trains horses. They use it for their horses for something. I'm not sure what it's for, but it's used. It's very few possible side effects. It's been used, like I said, for decades. Very inexpensive, and there are nations now that are approving it for use. There are doctors in the U.S. and Europe and around the world who have been using it very effectively on COVID patients to cure them, and it apparently is also a very good preventative. The WHO, WHO, and CDC finally just came out with a statement saying, at this point in time, we don't. They were saying no, we don't approve it. Now they're saying they're neutral. They're saying we don't promote it and we don't not promote it. We don't say you can't use it. And I think there are over 30. There have been many tests already, relatively small studies, and I think there are over 30 studies going on around the world, but seems to be working very, very, very well. Ivermectin, and what a sweet solution that would be. Something that is readily available, been tested for decades, been used on humans and animals, and very, very cheap. Of course, the people that have millions and billions of dollars into this, and we're hoping to make millions and billions of dollars off of the vaccines, that type of thing. Of course, are protesting. I just read one of the big pharmacy companies come out and protest and said, no, these studies aren't proper. Anyway, this was kind of the last 2 lanes up to the condominium where I live in, pretty much the center of Cebu City, pretty close to Fuente Osmena Circle in what's called the Uptown area. There are a number of condominiums up there. That lighted tower up ahead of me, tall tower, that is Horizon 101. I've done a few videos there, and please check out my other videos. And very little road rage you find here. People share lanes, not like some countries where they would get upset, try to block drivers trying to get around them. Anyway, thanks for coming along for the ride, and take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.